This last weekend we started the month of Elul. It's the month right before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The beginning of Elul until Yom Kippur is 40 days. So 40 in the Jewish tradition is a very significant number. It's a number of birth, of rebirth, of renewal. If you look back into times where there's a number 40 appears, it's quite evident there. A baby gestates, hopefully, for 40 weeks. Time for the baby to grow and to be ready to be born. Noah's Ark floated in the new world that was going to be created for 40 days and 40 nights. The Jewish people who had to transition from being slaves to being free lived in the desert for 40 years and 40 years. Moses went up Mount Sinai, and this is the period we're in, where Moses goes up Mount Sinai after the debacle of the golden calf to go and ask forgiveness from the Jewish people, goes up for 40 days and 40 nights to create a new beginning for the people to be forgiven, for them to start all over again. And finally, in the mikveh, body of water, natural body of water in which people immerse, you go in one state and you come out new, you come out reborn, you come out something different than when you went in. And the measurement, the Hebrew measurement for the mikveh is 40 se'ir. So the number 40 appears within the context of renewal and rebirth and becoming something new. So we are in this period of 40 days, from the beginning of Elul until Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, the ultimate day of forgiveness. Yom Kippur that is like a mikveh, like a place that we go into in time to be reborn and to be new. But the work we're doing now is to get ready for that, to get to that place where we can do that wholeheartedly. And it says in this week's Torah portion, Shoftim, that we should be wholehearted with God. And part perhaps of being wholehearted with God is to feel a little bit unsettled, to feel that we're not complacent in where we are. There's a story told about 5 prisoners in a jail, and during the night they dig a tunnel and they escape in the middle of the night. The guard comes to morning rounds and he sees the jail is empty, except there's one man still sitting there. He goes in and he says, "What? I see the tunnel. I see your comrades escaped. Well, what are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I kind of quite like it here. I'm happy in jail." It's like, "What do you mean you're happy in jail? What does it mean that we're happy in our lives, that we're settled?" And I think Elul is a time where we're supposed to feel unsettled. We're supposed to feel like we don't have a place. We're supposed to feel like we're a little bit uncomfortable, so that we can work on ourselves, so that we can change ourselves, that we can rebirth ourselves, so that we can go back to who we were before we were created. Again, the month of Elul is this month before creation. Creation began on the 25th of Elul, which is the month we're in now, and Adam and Eve were created on Rosh Hashanah, which is the 1st of Tishrei. So we are in this month before creation, before we're born. We have the capacity to return to our true essence, which is holy, which is good, which is spiritual, which is light-filled, which is something that we can continue to be in this world. Is to be new, and to be holy, and to be clean, and to be pristine, and to be the vision of what we want to be, of who we were when we first came into this world. That's the vision that we have for ourselves in this time. There's another story given in the Talmud, in the oral tradition, about a man called Eliezer ben Dodaya. And he was a man who would frequent prostitutes, who go all over the world. And he heard about this prostitute who was many countries away, and he traveled to use the services of this prostitute. And when he's with her, she says, "You're completely irredeemable. You're the worst there is." And he has this moment where he realizes he is the worst, and that there's no redemption for himself. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? And he goes and he asks the mountains to pray for him, and he asks the sun and moon to pray for him, and he asks the oceans to pray for him. And they say, we can't pray for you. And he realizes that it's all up to him, that he has to pray for himself, that he has to recognize who he is and face himself completely. And it says that he puts his head between his knees and he cries. And this cry is a mournful, soulful, complete teshuvah. He completely changed himself, completely went back to his beginning, completely recreated himself. He went back. Why did we have to know that he put his head between his knees? Because he went back to who he was as a fetus. He went back to pre-birth. He went back to who he was in potential, in essence. He went back to that place. And it says he cried and he achieved complete teshuvah, complete return to who he was, and he died. His soul was released from his body. And in the heavens, he's welcomed as Rabbi Eliezer ben Dodiah. He's achieved complete rebirth, re-beginning, gone back to the face, washed himself clean, so clean that he goes up as rabbi. We have that potential. We have that potential also to feel unsettled in this month of Elul, to feel that we're also a people without a place, a person without a place, that we have to work on ourselves, that we shouldn't be comfortable. We shouldn't be sitting in the prison saying, I'm fine, everything's fine. We should be the people who are running to look for ways to be better, to work on ourselves. This week's Torah portion is called Shoftim, which means judges. And in the Torah portion, we read about the different constructs of our society going into the land of Israel. There'll be a king, there'll be prophets, there'll be priests, there'll be judges who will judge us. And so, taking the theme of judges, we're in a period where we're judging ourselves. Who am I? What do I want to be? How can I be the best person I can be? What can I do to myself to make myself the better person that I want to be? And so we judge ourselves in this time period. And one of the things that it says in this week's Torah portion is to put policemen at your gates. And perhaps that means put policemen at our gates, the gates into ourselves, our ears, our eyes, our mouths, our skin, our noses, all these ways in which we allow ourselves to be influenced by the outside coming into ourselves. We have to guard them. We have to let the right things come through our eyes, and the right things come into our ears, and the right food into our mouths, and the right speech out into the world, and hear the right things from other people, and maybe take stock in this time period of Elul to put the right policeman on our gates into our consciousness. What do we let in, and what do we block out? How much am I wasting my time on different Instagrams and Facebooks and whatever it is that I'm listening to? I'm listening to the right things that help me grow and help me recreate myself in this 40-day period that's given to us, where God says, I'm giving you this before even the world was created. We have the capacity to return to our pure and holy selves. We can do that in this time period. So perhaps part of it is about being able to critically put policemen at our gates, so we watch and see and hear and speak and all the right things, and block out those things that we don't want to be bombarded with. So that's one aspect of feeling like we're using this period of judgment correctly. And one other final thought in the sense of God judging us. We learn there's many places that God judges us at this time, and especially as we go through Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, there's a sense of judgment. And I heard something lovely that I'd like to share, that judgment can be seen as an evaluation. God is looking, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, using anthropomorphisms for God, which is limiting, but there's a sense that God is evaluating us. Where are you, each one of us, in our position now, today? And what is it that we need moving forward? What is it in the coming year that each one of us needs to be the best person we can be? God is evaluating each one of us as to the year ahead. What is it that you need, each one of us, to be the wholesome and the beautiful person that we are? How is God going to help us? Because God created the world to bestow upon us goodness and love and connection to the divine. So God is looking to bless us, looking to give us the opportunities to be in the best versions of ourselves. And so in this period, God is perhaps evaluating, not punishing in the negative sense of judging and being negative, but in a very positive way, saying, what is it that each one of us need moving into the year for us to be the best people that we can be? And it could be that the things that happen to us aren't things that we like, or aren't things that we feel good about. But perhaps we can, on some level, understand that this is God saying, these are the things that you need to be the best person you can be. So just to recap, we're in the 40-day period from the beginning of Elul until Yom Kippur. It's a time of rebirth and regrowth and reconnection to the essence of who we are, which is pure and holy. So how do we do that? How do we live in this pre-creation month of Elul where we are potential, we have the potential? So part of it is understanding that God's evaluating us for what it is that we need. Part of it is us evaluating what it is that we're going to allow into our essence, what we're going to allow in through our ears and eyes and mouth and nose and skin, and what is it that the influences that we're going to allow in, and the ones that we're going to block because they damage or because they evoke emotions in us that are negative. So how do we push the ones we don't want away and let the ones in that we do want? And to not be complacent, to not be like the prisoner in jail who's sitting there saying, I'm quite happy being in jail, to be unsettled, to have a feeling of being unsettled in this time. And I bless us that we are able to harness the energy of Elul and to understand that God loves us unconditionally, to feel love for God, to feel that we want to unblock the blockages that are blocking us, to feel that we're in a period of we're in a period that is akin to a city of refuge, where we're safe, where God is close, where we can work on ourselves, we can reevaluate ourselves, and we can return to the pure essence of who we are.